All right, so do we call this the official first stream? Because technically the first stream that we did, people couldn't hear me for the first like half hour of it. So
that's too bad too, because there was like some substantive stuff in there, like just like Project 2025. But I mean, it's
well, they were able to hear you, and luckily that was your kind of bread and butter there, so people weren't really missing so much from me, except for just like going.
You were still
yes, I agree.
No, but it was still disappointing though, because you did contribute really good, valuable insight. But like, I mean, yeah, this is just it sounds like you have
I got some stuff this time. So
yeah. So no, I mean, like if you wanted to lead with that stuff, I'd be actually interested to hear what you have to say about it, because I think you've been paying closer attention to that aspect of things than I have. Okay. So
just trying to figure out where I should start here.
There's that much.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to just say, okay, yeah, we're live. Cool.
There's such a deluge of information that it's hard to even like know where the best place to start is. Like, how do we start this story? It's exactly. Like 3,000 paragraphs long. So,
wait a minute. Oh my God. It sounds like, Dave, you have a double. You have like a double. Sounds like you have an echo.
Really?
That's not your fault. It's probably my fault. It is. It's my fault. Hang on. Let me just fix something really fast.
See, I'm doing
okay. All right. I think we're good now. All right. Just double check. Yeah. Well, no, I think because I have the desktop audio as an audio setting, and then I also have the Zoom deal as an audio setting, so it was like catching both your deals.
It is. It's my fault. Cool. Easier done than said. We solved the problem.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, crisis averted.
I'm just listening to you for a second. Hang on.
Yeah. I could pontificate. Let me see if I get that. We could go over. What do I have on here? Bring up like one of my.
Liberalism. That's a word that I use to title one of the subjects that I could bring to the table.
Okay, all right, we're good.
Actually, is it working?
Yeah, no, we're good. We are terrific. I'm trying to see where the frick I should start with. I guess let's start. Yeah, let's start with Hakeem Jeffries. Jeffries. You know who Hakeem Jeffries is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So for anybody,
I wish that he was not. I wish he was politically irrelevant enough for nobody to know who he was, but unfortunately, we don't live in that timeline.
For anybody who doesn't know, he's our new minority leader in the U.S. House of Representatives.
You know what Donald Trump used to say? Minority leader, DEI leader. But
yeah. So essentially, taking over what was essentially Nancy Pelosi's role as leader of the Democrats in the House, and if not Congress. And in terms of, I mean, I never really liked, to be fair to everybody here, I never really liked Hakeem Jeffries at all. He's kind of symbolic to the problem with the Democrat Party in general. But, just starting, looking into how he's responding to Trump, I thought Pelosi and Schumer were bad. Jeffries just seems more feckless than those two. I didn't think that Hakeem Jeffries would be somebody that would make me want to miss Pelosi at all, but I guess I'll play this here. I'll share this first video here. I'll just freaking do. All right. Do you see it? Oh, you see the wonderful screen? You see the screen, Vista, David? See the mountains? All right,
I do. I see them.
All right. So they're
very seductive mountains.
So this is Hakeem Jeffries being asked about, what should you guys do in terms of Trump, and how should you respond? So this is.
I think I've seen part of this. It sucks.
Yeah, you see it? Okay, so you kind of know what you're looking.
No, but I'd love to see it again. Yeah. We can't hear it though.
You can't hear. Oh no! You know what I fucking did? Oh, share sound. I'm an idiot. I forgot to click that. Okay, try that again. All right, from the top. Hakeem Jeffries, everybody. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so it's their government, Dave.
Yeah, no, you filibuster the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
It's such a contrast to what like happened at the beginning of Obama's term when he had a supermajority, and John Bolton and Mitch McConnell basically had a private meeting where they're like, even if we're like, politically disadvantaged now, it's going to be our goal to say no to every feature of his agenda to make sure he doesn't get a second term. And that was like the level of like of adversity they were willing to apply to his administration. But of course, like, Democrats, liberals are extremely capitulatory. So it's just really disappointing. What do you think, man?
It's basically, look, when Obama won in 2008, which you could say was like a mandated election because he won by huge margins, that didn't stop the Republicans from obstructing in whatever way they could. I remember Mitch McConnell, had a private meeting where he essentially said, our goal is to make Obama a one-term president. And it didn't stop them from throwing whatever they could in wrenches into the machine and whatnot. It just, when you campaigned last year about how this election was so important, about how Trump was going to be a dictator and all that, and then he's in office now, and your response is essentially, hey, what can we do? I don't know, we're trying.
Yeah,
just send us money, please.
I said John Bolton, I meant John Boehner. But like, but yeah, no, it's like, liberals have always been really, really spineless when it comes to playing like the field, playing the political chessboard. That was the case before the friend that we watched talk right now, but it's even more so the case now that he's in charge. There's somebody shared something, and this is probably going to be my main contribution to what you're talking about now.
Okay.
There was a Daniel Guerin book about fascism and big business that was published in the 1930s, and it was a study of Germany during that time frame. And his quote is, "The misfortune is that we have permitted the bougie Democrats to seize hold of anti-fascism. These gentlemen fear the fascist whip for their own skins, but they fear the proletarian revolution at least as much. They declaim against fascism without taking a single thoroughgoing measure to attack its mere material roots," which really does explain the totality of the proliferation of fascism in the modern era. And by their economic and social policies, they're referring to Democrats and neoliberalism, they deepen the causes of friction between the proletariat and the middle classes, and thus they push the latter towards the very fashion which they pretend to divert from. And it kind of also reminds me of how, like, even like when Hitler was detained after his beer hall coup, he spent his entire trial time talking about the economic grievances of the German population. And that's because fascists tend to commandeer populist rhetoric in order to advance their goals. And Democrats tend to not address the material grievances that the population experiences.
But why would they do that when you can be like Hakeem Jeffries and attack Trump this way, which is a great segue into the next video I want to share about
attack him by not attacking him.
This is what he thinks is appropriate, ways of criticizing Trump. So it's there.
Captain Chaos and the extreme MAGA Republicans spent last year.
Just for those playing the home game, Captain Chaos is Trump. That's the new name that he has bestowed Trump. He's Captain Chaos.
I know Trump is so much better at like creating nicknames that actually inflict upon his population. Captain Chaos is not going to resonate with anybody. Nobody.
If anything, you're kind of making him a bit cooler.
Yeah, true.
Seriously.
Spent last year promising to lower the high cost of living and running away from Project 2025 as if it didn't exist.
This is absolutely pathetic. Essentially, there was a tweet that I saw where it's essentially Democrats keep pointing to the rule book saying a dog can't play basketball while a dog keeps dunking on them. Like, you got to do more than just be like, well, he said he was going to do this. He wasn't going to do this and he's doing it. Or actually, that's illegal. And then don't follow through on that.
Before it was like in 2016 during that administration, it was always like, this is not normal. And that was like the Democrats like main like line of attack. Like this isn't normal. This is abnormal. It's like, that's not going to inflict. That's going to like, that's like, what's like the meme now when somebody has like 100% attack, but like 0 damage. Like the Democrats are basically on this treadmill where they're exerting all of this energy trying to attack Donald Trump, but it's like inflicting 0 damage because like the things that they're attacking Donald Trump for actually don't substantively challenge what people respond to, like when it comes to who he is. It's like what is it? I think like it'd be more effective like to point out his hypocrisy, like when he was like, "We're going to drain the swamp," or something like that, and then he makes it legal for like federal agents and
unfortunately it's clear that this council does
bribes again.
Yeah,
like, it's like, but it's like
this.
It's. Mm-hmm. What do you say?
I think that right now we can't really rely on the main den leadership for any type of cohesive response. And we got to look elsewhere. Now, I did find some that, this is how I want them to respond. So I saw this recently on Twitter. Former Vikings punter Chris Clowy called Donald Trump and MAGA a Nazi movement and apparently was arrested and carried out of a city council meeting by the police. But his messaging, I think, has more resonance than what we previously heard with Hakeem Jeffries here. So this is... Yeah, let me just... Oh, wait. Get out of here, Hakeem. I don't want to look at you anymore. Get out of here. All right. All right, so this is here.
Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence. MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA stands for firing air traffic controllers while planes are crashing. MAGA stands for firing the people overseeing our nuclear arsenal. MAGA stands for firing military veterans and those serving them at the VA, including canceling research on veteran suicide. MAGA stands for cutting funds to education, including for disabled children. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience. Get the heck.
Oh, geez.
Get out. Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not live.
See, at least that has some fucking energy, at least. So
has some energy. A little bit of consequences worth the necessary amount of energy it takes to like actually to challenge this kind of thing. Yeah.
And then there's, of course, the Democrats fire marshal who has to always fucking take the reins and never gets thanked for it. Our buddy Bernie Sanders.
Have you? Oh yeah, true. But it's like, have you noticed that like, when it comes to like Democrats, so many of like the prominent Democrats have adopted Obama's speaking style and delivery. Like even when it was Beto O'Rourke and like Cory Booker, like during the debate, they were just doing like their best like Obama impression. And even when it comes to like our new speaker, it's just like it sounds and looks like you're just doing like Obama 2.0 or 3.0, and it's so like ineffective against like how aggressive. Mm-hmm. Against like how combustive and inflammatory this fascist rhetoric is. People are
getting the wrong impressions from what they should take from Obama, and it's not his charisma. Obama was elected on a lot of promises that were never fulfilled. So
change we can believe in.
Yeah, I mean,
Wall Street instead of Main Street. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Anti-war, yeah. And then what happened in that during his presidency? Democrats lose over 1,000 seats, and the Democrat Party is like the shell of itself. It just orbits around Obama now, and he still has influence to this day. Ironically,
and his influence was like really deeply felt during many of the past presidential campaigns, including the 2020 presidential campaign where Bernie was hot on his Nevada caucus.
Just took a phone call.
Obama played the role of like, I get to like, like I'm the king's maker. So, Beto O'Rourke, Amy Klobuchar out of the race. Just please consolidate.
Get behind the geriatric candidate.
Yes. And it's kind of like, it's like he played the board masterfully to allow for the consolidation of fascism to materialize. So it's another confirmation of what the author from the 1930s was saying, is that liberals, they crack down against political movements that can address material needs that are preventative against the proliferation of fascism. Democrats are much better at attacking leftists than they are at attacking fascists. And we saw that play out during our lifetime, during our political lifespans, where the Obama wing of the Democratic Party was very effective at politically silencing the leftist populist movement. And the leftist populist movement is basically oriented around substantiated solutions to people's everyday grievances. It's like we have examples around the world of leftist economic theory overperforming and giving people lifetimes they deserve. So, of course, leftist populism is a lot more easy to defend than right-wing populism is. But Democrats are very, very prolific.
It resonates if you do it right. I mean, this video here with Bernie Sanders they shared on TikTok got almost 10 million views in a day or something. It was a pretty short span here, but I was gonna blind watch it with you. I was just want to see what the hubbub is about, but. Yeah. All right. This is our boy Bernie, the president who never was.
True.
Yeah. I do not often find myself in the habit of thanking Elon Musk, but I must confess that he has done an exceptional job of demonstrating a point that a few of us have been making for years, and that is the reality that we live in an oligarchic society in which billionaires dominate not only our politics and the information we consume from media, but our government and economic lives as well. That has never been clearer than it is today. But given the news and attention Mr. Musk has been getting over the last few weeks as he illegally and unconstitutionally dismantles government agencies, I think it is an appropriate time to ask the question that the media and most politicians don't seem to be asking. What do he and other multi-billionaires really want? What is their end game? In my opinion, what Musk and those around him are aggressively striving for is not novel, it is not complicated, and it is not new. It is what ruling classes throughout history have always wanted and have always believed is theirs by right. More power, more control, and more wealth. And they don't want ordinary people, that's you, and democracy getting in their way. They want it all. Elon Musk and his fellow oligarchs believe government and laws are simply an impediment to their interests and what they are entitled to. In pre-revolutionary America, before the 1770s, the ruling class governed through a doctrine called the divine rights of kings. The belief that the King of England was an agent of God and he was not to be questioned by mere mortals. In modern times, we no longer have the divine right of kings. What we now have is an ideology being pushed by the oligarchs, which says that as very, very wealthy people, often self-made, often as the masters of revolutionary new technology, it is their absolute right to rule. In other words, these modern-day oligarchs are our kings. And it is not just power, it's incredible wealth that they have. Today, Mr. Musk is worth $402 billion. Zuckerberg is worth $252 billion. Bezos is worth $249 billion. With combined wealth of over $900 billion, these three people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Not surprisingly, since Trump was elected, their wealth has soared. Musk has become $138 billion richer. Zuckerberg has become $49 billion richer. And Bezos has become $28 billion richer, all since Election Day. Meanwhile, while the very rich become much richer, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paychecks. 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. 25% of seniors are trying to survive on $15,000 a year or less. 800,000 are homeless, and we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. Do you think for 1 second that the oligarchs give a damn about working people? Trust me, they don't. Musk's decision to dismember USAID means that tens of thousands of the poorest people around the world will go hungry or die of preventable diseases. But it's not just abroad. Here in the United States, they will soon be going after the healthcare, nutrition, housing, and educational programs that protect the most vulnerable people in our country, all so that Congress can provide huge tax breaks for them and their fellow billionaires. As modern-day kings who believe they have the absolute right to rule, they will sacrifice without hesitation the well-being of working people to protect their interests. Further, they will use the enormous media operations they own to deflect attention away from the impact of their policies while they entertain us to death. Mr. Musk owns Twitter. Mr. Zuckerberg owns Meta, which includes Facebook and Instagram, and Mr. Bezos owns the Washington Post and Twitch. Further, they and their fellow oligarchs will continue to spend huge amounts of money to buy politicians in both major political parties. Bottom line, the oligarchs, with their enormous resources, are waging a war against the working class of this country, and it is a war that they are intent on winning. Now, I'm not going to kid you. The problems this country faces right now are extremely serious. The economy is rigged. Our campaign finance system is corrupt. And we are struggling to control climate change, an existential threat to our planet, among many, many other important issues. But this is what I do know. The worst fear that the ruling class in this country has is that Americans, black, white, Latino, urban and rural, gay and straight, young and old, that all of us will come together to demand a government that represents all of the people in our country, not just the wealthy few. The oligarch's nightmare is that we will not allow ourselves to be divided up by race, religion, sexual orientation, or country of origin, and will together have the courage to take them on. Will this struggle be easy? Absolutely not. And one of the reasons for that is that the ruling class of this country will constantly remind you that they have all the power. They control the government. They own the media. You want to take us on? Good luck, they will say. There is nothing you can do about it. But our job right now, in these very difficult times, is to not forget the great struggles and sacrifices that millions of people have waged over the several centuries to create a more democratic, just, and humane society. Think about it. Over the last number of centuries, how many people have stood up and fought? And when they were doing that, you know what their contemporaries said? They said, hey, you want to overthrow the King of England to create a new nation and self-rule? Forget about it. Impossible. You want to establish universal suffrage, right of all people to vote? Impossible. Can't happen. You want to end slavery and segregation? Impossible. You want to grant workers the right to form unions and end child labor? Can't be done. Impossible. You want to give women control over their own bodies? Who are you kidding? Impossible, can't be done. You want to pass legislation to establish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, a minimum wage, clean air and water standards? Impossible. In other words, as Nelson Mandela told us, everything is impossible until it is done. In these difficult times, despair is not an option. We've got to fight back in every way we can. We have to get involved in the political process, run for office, connect with our local, state, and federal legislators, donate to candidates who will fight for the working class of this country. We have got to create new channels for communication and information sharing. We have to volunteer not just politically, but to build community locally. Whatever we can do is what we must do. Needless to say, I intend to do my part, both inside the Beltway and traveling throughout the country, to stand up for working families and to take on the oligarchy. In the days, weeks, and months ahead, I hope you will join me in that struggle. We can win, we will win, we must win. Thank you very much.
True. You know what the Mandela quote that he referred to is kind of like almost like a retooling of the Rosa Luxemburg quote, which is like, and I'm paraphrasing, where it's like, revolution seems impossible until it wins, and then it appears as though it was like always inevitable. And
yeah, I think that's from her socialism or barbarism speech. So.
Yeah.
Or essay,
which is a beautiful statement. It's so true. It's so applicable to every political reality that people have had to basically struggle against. And what he's saying is a lot of what he was saying also reminds me of there was a recent Musk tweet where Musk was like, billionaires are shouldering so much of the financial burden of the middle and lower classes. But I just kind of want to remind people, when it comes to even something like funding for Social Security, every dollar after $176,000 is exempt for people who are millionaires or billionaires. So, like, what that means is that when it comes to who's funding Social Security, it's the lower class, it's the middle class, it's the upper middle class, it's the
undocumented immigrants.
Yeah, it's the lowest of the upper class. So, if we just lifted that cap on Social Security, we would be able to fund Social Security for an undetermined amount of time. But right now, only income that is accumulated up to $176,000 is taxed that contributes to Social Security.
Right.
So anybody's income, $1 million, $2 million, billionaires, they don't contribute anything to Social Security whatsoever. And apparently that's for whatever fucking ironic reason. That's where a lot of Elon Musk's interests have been diverted. But that's also the program where millionaires, billionaires aren't shouldering any of the financial burden, and the lower and middle classes are shouldering the totality of that financial burden. Really interesting stuff.
Because for them, government is just for them to kind of exploit for their own advantages. That's how they see it. If they get taxed more, well, all of a sudden that's not fair. Wait a minute. Oh.
Or if they get taxed at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You let the lower and middle class pay for it. Literally, if we make more than $176,000, none of that additional money we make after $176,000 is being contributed into Social Security, but we're going to be the victims anyways.
Yeah. Right.
It tends to be the situation where the perpetrators, the people who are the most exploitative, also present themselves as being
the biggest victims.
Yes, the most victimized, the most persecuted, and that is perfectly and comprehensively personified by Elon Musk, the fucking nepotistic victim that he is.
Yes.
But I don't know. What did you think of that, Bernie?
People listen. I think the election last year kind of showed that the liberal way going forward is dead. We got to stop doing it. It's. We have to. There has to be a more positive message that reflects Bernie's politics more, and I hope going forward that a lot of these, feckless Democrats are primaried out. Like we need to grow the squad more. There needs to be a bigger proportion of the progressive caucus. Like that option needs to grow more. And, you know, I hope going through this year as well as next year, there are opportunities, mind you, those opportunities means like a lot of people are going to suffer because Trump's policies are going to be more implemented, but that also serves as opportunity for us to pick up, the victims of those policies, even if they were Trump supporters themselves, like, or that people that voted for him. Like that's the path going forward. It's not really, trying to reconcile with the biggest MAGA base. It's really appealing to people that stayed home on election night, that just that aren't, that politically engaged. That's going to be the priority going forward. So, and like these bread and butter issues that Bernie was talking about are essential to that. That's just my take on it. But
that was his statement was actually better than I could have imagined and more thorough than not that I ever expect that Bernie will underperform, but that was I think that he said something that a lot of people have been waiting to hear from some kind of representative or something like that.
Right.
It's doing what she can, and Bernie's kind of carrying a mantle. He's carrying a torch as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else do you have as far as feckless liberalism or neoliberalism is concerned? You got some more good stuff?
Well, I wouldn't say this is feckless as much as it is kind of, I guess cowardice is one way of looking at it, but another is just, I would say, a kind of a backpedaling of your whole principle. So, you know who Sean O'Brien is, right? President of the Teamsters Union.
Oh yeah, he gave speeches at both conventions or something, right? Yeah, or
I think he wasn't. I'm trying to remember. In his defense, I don't think he was invited.
He gave a speech at the DNC. I think that he had at least.
No, it was the RNC. He gave a speech at. I don't think he was invited at the DNC, but he
really.
I remember he was at the RNC. Now his logic was to try to appeal to Republican officials, congresspeople, but I don't know much. I don't know how much of that went through.
Yeah, I could have that completely backwards. So what's he? Oh, he's expressing regret now, right?
No, you would think, but
or is he
to kind of? This is the type of mentality that Sean O'Brien was originally going in before the election last year. You remember he almost got in a fight with oh God, what was his name? Mark Wayne Mullen. You ever see that?
No, kind of fight.
Oh yeah, here I'll fight. Here. I happen to have it right here. I'm going to share it to you. Oh, it's great.
That's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, look at this. This is awesome.
How does he feel about what's been happening to the NLRB? Is he?
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Mr. O'Brien himself, his behavior. As everybody knows, and it's here in the last time.
So this is how a lot of people got first introduced to Sean
appreciate your demeanor today. It's quite different. But after you left here, you got pretty excited about the keyboard. In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. It said, greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made. Sir, I wish he was in the truck with me when I was building my...
So to be fair, he is not self-made. Mullen got his business from help from his dad. Kind of like how Elon inherited his wealth from his father.
I think it's the same kind of like calculus he could perform. Anybody who says that they're like an alpha male, probably not an alpha male. Anybody who says that they're like a self, that concept is not legitimate either.
Folks, I hate to break
anybody who says self-made, they're saying that because they're aware of the fact that they probably had some advantages, but they need to proliferate this narrative that they were self-made because they're aware of the fact that they had an unfair advantage. So,
folks, I hate to break it to you all, but there isn't really a rags to riches story in the American dream, because again, you have to be asleep to kind of believe that to be true.
It's just gotten harder as time has gone on.
So he's apparently very butthurt about calling a spade here from O'Brien.
My plumbing company, myself and my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
No, stop it.
Is that your solution, everybody?
No, sit down. Sit down.
Look at you.
You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond? Mr.
Hold it. If
Hold
we
on.
can, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing.
Fucking
God
America's
knows
dad.
the American people have enough
Christ.
contempt for Congress. Let's not
I don't
make
like
it worse.
thugs and
You-
bullies.
You have,
And that's
you
what-
I
have,
don't like you because you
Hold
just
it.
described yourself.
You're a butthead.
hold it. You have the mic. You have
Fuck your
time.
mom.
Yeah,
All right,
Bernie's using that
Well, let's
hammer
do
a lot.
this because I did challenge you and I
get
accepted
hammered.
your challenge, and you went quiet.
No, I didn't go quiet. I was.
Hold on.
You challenged me to a cage match,
No, no,
acting
no,
like a
sir.
12-year-old schoolyard
Hold it.
bully.
Excuse me.
Hold on.
Hold it. No,
what about
excuse me.
you?
I'm
I
sorry.
will say exactly.
Senator Mullen, I have the mic. You have questions on any economic issues, anything that said, go for it. We're not here to talk about physical abuse.
You brought.
We're not
him
talking
in.
about, of course I
And,
did.
and let me show you his hearing because I want to expose this thug to who he is. And
Could you not point at me? That's disrespectful.
I don't care about respecting you at all. I
I don't
respect.
respect you
I
at
guess
all.
our friend
So,
needs
hold
a trigger
it.
warning
Hold
for,
it. No.
for every microaggression.
Mullen is.
You don't
I'm not
wanna
triggered.
be
I'm
triggered.
totally
Hold
not
it.
triggered.
Please.
It's like,
Please.
I'll try to beat you up, but don't fucking point at me.
This is a, excuse me. This is a hearing to
Oh, what an
discuss
idiot.
economic issues. All right? If you have questions for Mr. O'Brien or anybody else on what he has said, go for it.
I mean-
But we're not here to talk about fights or anything else.
I'm quoting exactly what he said.
You can
and
say
this
what
is-
you want,
This is
but-
your witness
This
you
is
brought,
my
and let me.
witness.
I'm exposing him.
You can
as a
talk
person
anything
who
you want,
he is. So
but
in
no fight-
2013,
Nope.
in 2013, O'Brien was suspended by the Teamsters for intimidating your own members. In 2014, you were part of what would you say, organizing the harassment, intimidation of the Top Shelf crew.
Chef, not chef.
Top Chef. Okay, and then and I think in the reports they said sexual, racist, and homophobic slurs and death threats. 14 tires were sliced, and 5 Teamsters were arrested. And you said, "Well, I had nothing to do with it." But however, in that same statement, you said, "But if I get called to testify, I'll plead the fifth." This is a witness you brought in here. In 2017, you were removed as lead negotiator by then President Hoffa for UPS for your actions. And then in 22, when this guy was elected, what he said after he got elected was he wanted to bring the mob mentality back to the Teamsters. This is your guy.
And you're obviously going to give him a chance to respond to your questions.
Absolutely, because this is my question. Because you called me out. I didn't call you out.
Yeah, you did.
You said anytime, any place.
That's
what you
that.
said.
Let's get the record
Okay.
straight.
Ms. Hold it. No.
Hold on.
Senator Mullen, do you have a question for the witness?
Yeah. I
Okay,
think that's what I'm
let's
getting
hear
at.
it.
So, anytime, any place.
You know, meet me out
No,
back
that's not-
after the session.
April is a charity event.
No, that's not, no.
it's a, he,
No.
sir, he said it, and this is my
He is
time,
here
so
to
you
te-
can set
no.
parameters on what the questions can or cannot be asked, and I'll ask.
No,
the
you're not going to,
question.
we're not going to be talking about
Yes, we
physical
can.
confrontation.
Oh, this is about charity, for a union charity, because this is for firefighters. And
do you have a question on his
April,
testimony?
April,
Grow up,
April
will you
next
please?
You have
grow
a
up. You're an
question on
embarrassment.
his, let's not
You
be.
said it.
You're an
You
embarrassment.
said
You're
it,
an
and I'm just
embarrassment.
simply answering it.
You
Senator
reached
Mullen,
out
go
to
hold
your
it,
buddies.
hold it. Senator Mullen, you made some charges.
Charges.
Mr. O'Brien, do you want to respond to
Yeah,
the
go ahead,
question?
please.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality of it is, you
Accept
know,
my challenge,
Mr.
tough guy.
Mullen, tough guy.
Answer, hold it. Answer
tough
the
guy.
questions.
All right, you
You're
don't
gonna do
want.
next, bitch.
If like he made a lot of statements, right? And his statements are fiction at best.
Fiction, I read them.
Can you
What?
answer the question, please?
And
I can't understand him, to be honest with you.
All right.
He rambles so much.
So he can't
was
understand
it?
him. But he's also willing to say that his statements are fiction. Which one is it? You can't say that you can't understand him and also be like, I understood your statements enough to be able to claim that they were like false.
I'm not
I
gonna
actually
lie.
think-
I mean, yeah, accusation of sexism or whatever, but like, if I was ever in a hearing against Mullen like this, I would probably act the same way that O'Brien is doing right now. And I'm not fucking tolerating this fucking condescension from a Fox like self-made individual. Like I think this is what kind of rubs him the wrong way about it, because like he so easily exposed him as kind of a hack job that he is.
This is super fucking funny though.
Oh yeah, it was like, fucking hilarious. I remember
happen?
watching this live. I'm like, holy fuck, man! C-SPAN sometimes gets really entertainment.
Question, actually.
You said I made a lot of statements.
No, but what's your question? I don't understand your question. Could you repeat it?
You said anytime, any place.
What's your question?
Accept the challenge.
What challenge?
You said anytime, any place. I'm accepting yours, so why don't you?
What challenge? What challenge are you talking
April
about?
30th. How about we do it for charity at the?
It like reminds me like when
also
Picard was like,
What-
tester theory at any time or whatever.
Yeah.
And like I think I was like, I can take a
My
grasp.
question to you is, what are you doing after this session? I'll be in the parking lot. Will I see you there?
Jeez, man.
We're going to be
What was
talking
the
about
challenge?
physical
Like-
confrontations here.
You want to fight me?
What'd you say by anytime, any place?
Let's have coffee. Discuss our differences.
Oh, that's what you said.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's right.
All right, well, let's
that's
sit and have
interesting.
coffee.
Though.
Let's do it.
I kind of despise
Funny
both
how
of
you're
them.
back.
I don't back on
Sorry.
anything. You're the one. You're a 100.
Senator,
Should be the most influential people in this country making changes.
Senator
You're
Haslund.
focused on.
Okay.
You're
Thank
focused
you.
on
Why did
debate
you-
that's not
why
even
do you
relevant.
keep texting
You're an
me? They got
embarrassment. You're an
silent.
embarrassment.
They went
That's what you
silence
are.
after
You're an
after
embarrassment to
my
the
text.
state of
This
Also,
hearing
I have
just
to
like
say,
the
it's
position of the
weird.
working class in America.
You
That's
brought
what
I meant coffee. Obviously, that's not what he meant. Like,
man.
or backpedaling from that. But you know what this kind of reminds me of? Like, remember when Infrared and Dylan Burns were doing like a live debate, and
Which one?
Infrared for like like a long time was like, I'll fight people, like I'll just tell me like where you're at, and like I'll go there, and like
Isn't
Dylan
it?
Burns,
It wasn't like Dylan actually boxed though, and
yeah.
And then
like, but it was, like,
when Haas realized that, he backed down.
yeah, he super backed down because like in a live setting, Haas is basically extremely disempowered because he's not physically intimidating, but like and like Dylan Burns is like, okay, we'll fight now. But it is stupid that this is like the content, or like this is like a demonstration of political legitimacy, is like making threats, responding to threats, being like in a Senate hearing. Oh man. What do you think, man? How's this going?
Well, that is the energy that Sean O'Brien brought in, and what the Teamsters, represented in terms of like a very coarse but strong-willed, defiant protection against for the working class. And I just want to share this now. I mean, this is the stuff that they were talking about, back in 2020. Like, right to work, right? Yeah, so.
Over the past decade, some lawmakers have fought to curb the rights of workers, to join together to fight for fair wages, better benefits, and a voice in the workplace. Right to work, they say, is good for business. But the policy is a ruse. For workers, it is merely the right to work for less. This November, working Americans must exercise their own right to send these lawmakers packing. Go to www.teamstersvote.com and learn more about where the presidential candidates stand on union rights. Let's make sure 2020 is the year lawmakers support our vision for America.
So yeah, right to work, which is a very funny saying because it's not really a right to work. It's right to be fired. But of course, if you actually...
It's like naming something the Patriot Act. And then like being like, oh, but this is also going to like contradict what Jefferson said about privacy being more important than security. Like as like one of like the most patriotic statements ever. But
it's basically like, if they were honest about the messaging, it wouldn't obviously resonate with most people. That's why they have to use euphemisms like right to work.
It's just like make America great again. Mm-hmm. It's like it's like all this the messaging tends to actually directly contradict what their actual goals are. So, and that's just but that's propagandization. People are susceptible to branding, and usually the branding of something resonates with people a little bit more strongly than the substance of the branding does. And that's what.
So we're going to focus on right to work because we're going to pivot just for a second over to Trump's labor secretary pick named Lori Chavez DeRemer. Now, she is Republican, but she has... I have mixed feelings because, yes, she is pretty pro-labor for a Republican. She was, for instance, she was a co-sponsor and a supporter for Biden's PRO Act, the Protecting the Right to Organize Act, essentially.
Okay.
But other than that, her policy, like her economic policies and stuff like that, are pretty milquetoast Republican in that sense. So Trump picked her for labor secretary. Now we're bringing Bernie back in here because it was during this hearing where right to work was brought up again. And I need to remind you that she was a supporter of the PRO Act, which curtails right to work in the country. If I can freaking pull it up. Wait, I'm sorry. Oh God. All right, yeah, here. Blah. Okay. So.
The reality is that in America today, labor unions have the support of some 70% of the American people. You know why? Because people understand that the big corporations and their bosses have all the power. People understand that CEOs make 300 times more than their workers. And people say, you know what, the only way we're going to get decent wages and benefits is when we organize. Millions of people want to join unions.
Senator Paul.
But they can't join unions. You know why? Because corporations day after day operate in illegal ways. They break the law. They say to somebody, you were late 3 years ago. You're a pro-union, you were late 3 years, you're fired. We're going to take you into a captive audience, and for hour after hour, we're going to tell you how bad unions are. You want to join a union? Fine, you vote for a union. We're moving the plant to China. All of that stuff happens to be illegal. All of that stuff happens to be done every single day by corporate America. So let me get back to the original question. PRO Act is designed to prevent illegal behavior on the part of corporate America, on the part of employers, so that workers can make a free choice. Do you support the PRO Act?
I support the American worker.
Okay, I don't mean to be rude.
No,
we
you're
don't
not
have
rude.
a lot of time.
I
I'm
understand.
gathering that you no longer support the PRO Act, is what I hear. That you support the American worker. That's what everybody here will say.
So I accidentally played the wrong clip, but that is part of what I was going to say. This is the actual clip that I wanted to show, because it was actually Rand Paul, of all people, is pushing a right to work law in America. So, and this is the reaction that we got here.
Senator Paul. Welcome. I
Thank
enjoyed our
you.
meeting in our office, and I know you're aware of this, but about half the country has right-to-work laws. 26 states have them. When you compare right-to-work states with non-right-to-work states, you see that the right-to-work states have double the employment growth. If you look at manufacturing jobs, they have 5 times the manufacturing job
what's up,
growth.
Jet?
If you look at disposable income in the right-to-work states, about $3,000 more per individual for disposable income in the right-to-work states. The PRO Act wasn't just about organizing or enabling unions to organize, which they already have the right to do. The PRO Act was about overturning right-to-work laws in 26 states, half of the country. Most of these states would argue that this would be a horrendous invasion of their prerogatives. The chairman asked you, and then the ranking member asked you, do you still support the PRO Act? The reason we want to know is this is a tremendous sort of invasion of the state's rights to decide these. This would be overturning the right-to-work laws in half of the country.
Which is a good thing.
Do you still support the PRO Act, or don't you support the PRO Act?
Thank you, Senator Paul, and I appreciated our meeting as well. I thought it was quite, what you shared with me is how important it is to you and your state, and I heard that from many members. The right to work is a fundamental tenet of labor laws, where states have a right to choose if they want to be a right-to-work state, and that should be
PRO
protected.
Act would have overturned that.
Yes.
I need to remind everybody. Right to work means the right to be fired for the most
that's right.
minimal fucking thing.
Here's the other thing. So can we pause this for a second?
Yeah.
But we're already paused.
Yeah, we're paused. Yeah.
All right. So let's keep in mind the federal minimum wage in the United States is $7.25 per hour. That's the federal minimum wage.
Yeah.
Let's take into consideration countries that have 90% unionization or higher in their respective countries. A lot of these countries don't have a minimum wage. And why is that? Because a lot of jobs that are interchangeable with minimum wage jobs in those countries make at least $21 an hour for those jobs. So if you're working at Burger King in Denmark, and I think the last time I looked this up was like in 2019, so the wage is probably higher. The minimum wage working at Burger King in Denmark was $21 an hour. And Rand Paul, who's a shadow of his father, who was already libertarian enough, which is a social affliction, it's a political affliction, but he's far less principled and far less, politically efficacious than Ron Paul even was, is basically saying, or what he's basically accepting, federal minimum wage, literally a third of what unionization wages are like in countries that have higher unionization rates. Mm-hmm. The unionization rate in this country is still very low. Countries with higher unionization rates literally overperform wages by a multiplicity of 3 times. So he might have some data where some, right to work states have a marginally higher rate of income. But if we look at countries that have adopted substantially higher rates of unionization, up in the 90 percentile range, those countries overperform by about 3 times as much for their lowest income earners. So it's only when you compare this country's very impotent iteration of unionization against right to work states that right to work states seem to be more favorable. But when you compare right to work states to countries that have high unionization rates, those higher unionization rate countries deliver far more advantageous incomes to its workers.
Here's anybody who's anti-union that needs to comprehend with these general facts. People in union jobs have higher wages and better benefits than people in non-union jobs in the same industry. Okay, that's just a fact. Now, this is what right to work states do in terms of worker rights. Okay, they have lower wages and benefits. Workers have lower wages and benefits. Union power is weakened and curtailed by controlling union membership dues and financial stability, making it harder for unions to finance for worker rights. There's increased employer power, which means there's increased options and rights for exploitation by those employers against the workers. That means that there's potential for more unsafe working conditions and that will not be challenged effectively. And then there's also just the negative impact on communities because people who are in union jobs who make more money actually have the ability to spend more within their communities. You cannot be, and then this is what makes me kind of lose all faith in this representative right here, because you cannot be pro-worker and support right to work. It's incompatible. And her trying to thread this line is impossible based on the facts. So I hope people just understand that, but we'll continue here.
Thank you, Senator. I signed on to the PRO Act because I was representing Oregon's 5th District, but I also signed on to the PRO Act because I wanted to be at that table and have those conversations. But I fully, fairly support states who want to protect their right to work. I have said that to every senator that I have visited.
You no longer support the aspect of the PRO Act that would have overturned state right to work laws.
Yeah, there were so many parts.
That's a yes?
Yes. Yes, sir.
God, I hate it. So another thing that a lot of these countries with high unionization rates are able to accomplish. And especially in the case of Norway, which to me, if somebody's going to make a defense of capitalism, they should defer to the Scandinavian countries because they've been able to implement the most favorable iteration of capitalism that's ever existed, which I still disagree with. But it's at the beginning of almost every business year, the 4 largest union conglomerates convene and they have a negotiating situation with all the various industries that represent the majority of the workforce. And they hash out an agreement, a wage agreement that applies sector wide. So like if you're in the fast food industry, these union conglomerates negotiate on the behalf of the workers of those, like, you know, of that industry. And they set like, you know, industry terms. So that's not like every individual corporation or every individual business has to fight for like, you know, like its wage, for its like living wage and stuff like that. So it just, and like, even like, I think there are like examples like Italy and Spain where they don't have high unionization rates, but they do have high representation in the form of collective bargaining. And those features of collective bargaining are still able to establish sector-wide agreements that set the wage for that entire industry or like that entire sector. So like anyone who's trying to like pretty much like peddle this narrative that like, you know, like collective bargaining does not result in like, you know, better incomes for workers is just being like anti-factual. they're being hostile to the information that's both been established like domestically and geopolitically.
Yeah. I don't think there can be any honest Republican Secretary of Labor.
God,
in the sense that
not in this country, especially.
Only in the sense that the Department of Labor is used for the benefit of every American business in this country, and not like this is why I'm bummed that Kamala did not win, because we needed the PRO Act to really strengthen our union representation in this country, and the PRO Act was a good start to that, just by, you know, eliminating right to work and making it easier for, you know, employees to form unions and strengthening their collective bargaining power, as well as preventing any like intimidation by businesses and, you know, giving out harsher penalties if they're caught doing it. Like, this is just a fucking punch in the gut to me. But
there were some like surprisingly positive developments when it came to like her economic platform. She didn't have the time to like actually like focus and like triangulate on those things. It's like even like the thing where it was like, you know, small businesses are going to get like automatically receive like a pretty like substantial loan from the government. It's like, oh shit. Yeah. So we're going to like mitigate like the cost benefit dynamic for starting a small business, or like, you know, like new homeowners are going to like receive a loan as well. It's like, oh shit, like, you know, people in my generation could like actually foreseeably like own a house, which like under like the current like economic environment, nobody I know who's like is like planning to own a home.
Right.
But like,
no,
it's like
I'm certainly not.
They actually had those provisions in place. They weren't her policy proposals weren't activating enough, but they were more progressive than like what we'd become accustomed to from like, you know, like Biden campaigns and like Obama campaigns.
Yeah.
But like receiving a tax credit just doesn't hit as hard as like somebody like Bernie who's like, oh, you want fucking healthcare? Here's your healthcare. You want free tuition at public college? Here's your fucking free tuition at public college.
Taxing the rich has better sounding resonance than a tax break.
But it's also like not just like merely like a narrative or like a narrative or like performative high ground. Like those are obviously like policies that have like real substantive like material benefits to like the population. So they just weren't willing to go like far enough with those things.
And what is, you know, organized labor's response to that? Well, let's head back to Sean O'Brien now and the different tune that he's singing ever since 2024 and when he spoke at the RNC. So this is his response to the labor secretary and all that right to work stuff.
You know, there's been a lot of talk that if there is an issue with right to work, it should be done on a state level, not on a national level. And look, that's the beauty of having conversations with people from the other side, where you can collaborate and actually find out what works for that state, what doesn't work for it, but more importantly, what's going to work for the American worker. So you know, there's been a lot of talk.
You gotta really shut up about like this like whole narrative about like we just have to have conversations. There is a crisis of legitimacy when it comes to these conversations. It's like leftists when it comes to like material needs are having a conversation where it's like 2 + 2 = 4. Conservatives are having a conversation where they're saying like 2 + 2 = 6.
Yeah.
All these, like these like pearl clutching like centrists are saying like, why don't we just say that 2 + 2 = 5? No, I'm sorry, that's still fucking wrong. You don't have that conversation. You don't like land on that outcome. The conversation needs to be what is fucking factually going to materially benefit the majority of the population, and you stand by that. You don't listen to both sides and like arrive at like some wrong answer that's just like conveniently in the center. The center isn't always what's right. You have to fight for what's right, no matter how many people it disagrees with. Which is what's so frustrating about these people who are like, oh, we have to have like discussions about these things. We need to be past the point of discussions. We have to be representing and like really stand by things that we know to be provable, even if they negatively activate the people who are oppositional to those things. Fuck their opposition to it, stand by it anyway, and be muscular in your opposition to their opposition. Just like win. That's what it comes down to.
I'm trying to understand O'Brien's take. I don't know if he's triangulating to help save whatever gains the Teamsters have made in the past 4 years. But I don't think it's going to be effective because, like, at the end of the day, like the main class of the Republican Party, the business owners and the pro-business advocates, they don't care about labor rights. They think it's a detriment to their fucking survival, and they will impede, if not obliterate, any rights to work to the workers if it protects their bottom line. And I don't think he's getting it. And to add insult to injury to that, you remember you remember the little feud between Mullen and O'Brien, that was like 2 years ago. Well, they're singing a different tune now. So this is them now.
Hey guys, we're here with a unique coalition. We got Lori and my friend Sean. Now, the last time we were here, I think Sean and I kind of had our differences, but now we've made up, and actually we got a really good friendship. In fact, you'd almost say relationship. If it was a relationship, I'd be the man of the relationship, though, just to make sure.
Can we pause it for a second?
Yeah.
This reminds me so much of like Mika and Joe Scarborough, or like what's that guy's name now? Or it's like we've been calling Donald Trump a fascist for the past 4 years, but now that Donald Trump is
after they elected, they showed their bellies. They went to him to personally apologize, like, okay, we won't be critical.
Yeah, they kissed the ring. It's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're kind of like going to like describe our relationship a little bit differently, and we're going to be like way more capitulatory and like way more oppositional, and it's kind of cool. Let's just kind of like make it like some kind of like we'll advertise it as some kind of like really insidious warm embrace. Yeah,
it's also similar to like what Cenk and Anna from the Young Turks were kind of doing right now too.
Anna's she's so hard. It's been so disappointing.
Well, hold on. We might get something from this. Don't be too critical at first.
That's debatable. I mean, I've never had a man tell me to stamp my butt up. You know what I mean? But the reality is this is important, and this is what it's all about: collaborating, forming friendships for the right direction of this country. We believe that Laurie Chavez Darima should be confirmed. And
literally the right direction, not the correct.
This is President Trump. President Trump reached out to Sean and I and said, "Hey, we need to talk. You guys got more in common than you have differences." But that's a unique coalition that the president has brought together. We've seen it with Tulsi, we've seen it with Bobby, and now we're seeing it with Lori. So thank you guys for listening to us. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. We're still fighting for this country.
I hate this. So you know what kind of like agreement people usually arrive at where like we have more in common than like we have differences. That's when people agree to things like, I like good things and I dislike bad things. Like values descriptors that like nobody could disagree with. It's like, I think merit should be rewarded. It's like, I also think merit should be rewarded. But of course, like when you get to like what the policy implementation of that would look like or what that would resemble, it'd be like, oh, I think we should get rid of DEI. And it's like, that when like employers are left to their own devices, even for people who have like better like resumes, if they have an African-American sounding name, they don't get hired in favor of like the white sounding guy who like actually has a worse resume. Mm-hmm. It's like, of course, both sides are going to like inherit like the meritocratic position. That might like be able to like offer the illusion that we agree on a lot of things. But of course, the left's interpretation of what's like a solution tends to be a little bit more like credible than the right's interpretation of like the same solution. So I hate this fucking like centrist.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know what Sean O'Brien's like long game in this is, but nor do I really have much faith in it, to be honest with you. But instead of, supporting Sean O'Brien, be more of a Sean Fain, president of the UAW, United Automobile Workers, who's still pushing for a 2028 general strike. So,
oh, nice. Okay,
yeah,
good.
so just keep that in mind. There are other Seans out there. There are better Seans out there. But that Sean spelled SHAWN, and the Sean O'Brien's spelled like Sheen.
Yeah, the most important distinguishing factor.
All right. How much time do we got?
I mean, did we want to talk about there's the Social Security lie? That's like the one thing I researched.
Okay, yeah,
Or
you can.
You have more stuff for your.
I mean, well, okay. Do you want to cover? All right, I'll let you pick. You want to cover?
No, I mean, we mostly did this stuff that I researched last time. So if you've got stuff,
well,
go for
it. I don't know how fast they're going to be, but okay. So AOC. Well, all right, we'll do AOC. So,
yeah.
Do you know who Tom Holland is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the border czar.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Trump's border czar. Very hot and heavy.
Spiderman.
Yeah, so
Spiderman.
He was really good in Civil War.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I watched it.
This is David Rubin, I guess. I remember I watched the first trailer where like he appears, man, and that was really cool. Are we talking about a different Tom Holland?
Tom. I guess it's more Tom Holman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said Tom Holland.
Sorry. But
okay.
Here, I'll share
My apologies.
This is regards.
I thought we were going to get
between-
some Zendaya news.
Yeah,
man.
This is about him and AOC, and their relationship, I guess, started when he was at a hearing of the oversight committee, and
so they're together now. You said their relationship.
No.
Is this a romantic comedy where
it could be? I guess if you worded it right, but
the person she's interrogating, she falls in love with. She can't help it, and it's like a living manifestation of like that whole like I can save him thing, where it's like they establish that there's compatibility there, and she just has to prove his political differences wrong.
Kind of starts like that. Well, she kind of prods him on that by this questioning here, so we'll just let it play out here.
Mr. Holman, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that.
Holman.
Oh.
So you are the author of the family separation policy.
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommend a zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their.
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way.
Okay, so if you're an idiot, you might think that John Holman's fucking cooking here, but the devil's in the detail in this regard. So Holman wants to act like undocumented entry is a criminal act when it is a civil violation. Like a parking ticket. Okay. They're not hardened criminals when you are in this country without. You're not a hardened criminal when you're in this country without the proper documentation.
Oh, wait, you've never been separated for your family for jaywalking?
Yeah. You never had your you separated from your family for
or for
parking 5 minutes over the limit. Like
that hasn't happened to you. That happens to me all the time. I always get separated from my aunts and my uncles for crossing the street when I shouldn't. I thought that was just like a daily reality.
Ma'am, drop the child. You're in violation of citation codes.
Yeah. Drop the child, separate the kid.
So, yeah. So that's, of course, Holman's now the borders are, and he has tried to do a lot of major ICE raids. One of them, I believe, in Aurora. That you remember, that was the home place of the supposed Venezuelan gangs taking over the apartments there, which was just a slumlord's way to cover up the fact that he was not taking care of his tenants. Regardless, the raids did not go so well because residents were tipped off, and much to the annoyance of Holman, people were being educated on their rights.
Right, which he didn't like, and he tried to crack down against AOC.
Yeah, he did not.
But I also like how he says, like, you have to go through the proper legal channels if you want to immigrate safely.
Oh, yeah.
Never but the administration has also been cracking down against legal channels.
Never mind the fact that the ports of entries are all fucked anyway.
There was an app that was designed to like expedite the process.
Yes.
Immigrants in the country, and they made sure to make that app no longer functioned. So like this whole thing about proper channels. No, that's just like that's their way of justifying their persecutorial standpoint about all this. Yeah. They had a bill that they could have all signed on to, which increased both border protection and significantly increased the number of asylum judges in the country, and they didn't support that bill. So like I don't appreciate or trust any interpretation they have when it comes to how they're.
Well, he's very upset that migrant workers, immigrants, documented and undocumented, are being educated on their rights. And he was so upset that he thinks because he found out that AOC was spearheading these attempts to get the word out on people knowing their rights. And he feels like that itself is a crime and that she should be investigated. So
heard you talking about AOC over the weekend. Do you believe she is breaking the law?
I'll leave that up to DOJ. What I find disturbing is that any member of Congress wants to educate people how they evade law enforcement. You can claim you're educating those constitutional rights. Okay, you can keep that claim. What she in fact is doing, telling people don't open your door, hide in your home, don't talk to ICE. We're talking.
Which is
now I need to remind people.
It reminds me so much of like, you remember when like they were after the what was the ABC debate? They were complaining about the fact checkers.
Yes,
it's like when we get fact checked, it makes us look really embarrassed. When somebody educates other people who are living here about their rights, that kind of that's an impediment to our political goals. And basically what they're admitting to is like, we can only accomplish our political goals
by being sneaky.
If people forfeit their rights.
Yeah. We can
and
only,
what else are you admitted to by saying that?
Yeah, we can only do our job if we're able to trick people. So we need them to answer the door and come out, identify who they are. You know, they have to think that we're allowed into their residences without a warrant. You know, these things matter. And again,
you got to show up like Nosferatu.
Again,
and just be asked into the home.
speaking of the law, and if you don't think that it's fair to tell people on their rights, remember that it was legally decided in a court of law that the police have every right to lie to you if it means that they are going to apprehend crimes better. They have no obligation to tell you the truth. They can lie in whatever means necessary if it means that it's going to result in some type of criminal activity being captured.
And that would be kind of like if AOC just reminded people that they can plead the fifth.
Yeah.
That would be some kind of like a impediment to the investigation or something like that. Reminding people of their rights should be. I mean, even law enforcement does that. They remind people that you have the right.
Well, I wonder what Holman's thoughts are on the whole Miranda rights. Does he not?
I know. Even our local law enforcement. If the standard is that reminding people of their rights means they are liable for prosecution, then our friend Homan here also has to take the position that every law enforcement officer who reminds people of their rights is also legally in a position to be prosecuted against, because apparently reminding people of their rights is a problem. So this guy is more all cops are bastards than most of us leftists are.
Even people who are like obvious criminals, like it's no doubt that they did something wrong. They still have rights. You can't just
of course
you can't just abuse.
Well, they've been trying to suspend that. The habeas corpus is in jeopardy. As a lot of they've, as I know, like they've set the pretext where people can be detained without charge or without proper investigation.
And until then, like, even if people are here in this country undocumented, you still cannot circumvent the civil rights of these people that are residing in this country. It doesn't matter. You need a warrant to enter homes. You don't have to force people to identify who they are. For anybody wondering, you do not have to identify yourself unless you've committed a crime.
Yeah.
And the that's the whole point there. So if you are not, if they can't find that you've committed a crime, you don't have to provide any information to you. You don't have to show them ID or nothing. Like there's a team of lawyers, two guys I on YouTube I follow, where it's basically, your job is to shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up. You know what I'm talking about? Those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everybody does have that right. Reminding people of their rights should not be.
No, it's not a crime to remind people.
It's
of their
not.
rights. So,
it's like,
all right, Holman. What's your defense?
Or in the country illegally, committed a crime, they're a public safety threat, they've been convicted.
Okay, again, it's a civil violation to be in this country without documentation. Okay.
Yeah.
It's only a crime if these people, engaged in criminal activity like robbery, assault, murder, stuff like that. Which I'm not saying that undocumented immigrants have never been found of. There are cases of that, even though the fact that undocumented immigrants commit less crime than U.S. citizens, that's just a fact that, again, they don't fucking care about. So.
And there's also one of the justifications for Donald Trump saying that we also have to curtail legal immigration is that we don't have the resources to accommodate the extra population density, we can say.
Right.
But the way that it turns out is that we don't have the resources to deny these people. It is the more like actual reality of the situation, where there's a disproportional number of immigrants who start small businesses and create jobs. And whether it's federal or state taxes, they end up actually contributing more than they take. If we're being extremely deferential to the totality of the truth, I believe, like, when it comes to the state tax expenditures, initially they take more than they give. That's because of how demanding the costs for public education are. But as time goes on, they end up contributing even more. So on both a state and federal tax level, they contribute more than they take. When it comes to job growth, they are essential and vital to that situation as well.
But Dave, they're here illegally. They have to go. Like, this is a childish understanding of this.
But these are this even
black and
applies to
white
legal
morality
migrants.
bullshit.
Yeah. But it applies to legal migrants as well. Even people who, and this is what's applicable to the narrative that we can't process these people legally because we don't have the resources to accommodate these legal migrants. And it's like, well, if resources are the primary concern, then you should be immigrating more people, because on a basis of statistical likelihood, legal migrants contribute more to our economy than native-born people do. And that's not me saying something that's supposed to be damaging towards native-born people. It's just the economic reality. So it's kind of funny how, once again, they have to be hostile to the economic realities, and they have to directly contradict the truth in order to advance their narrative, which is completely fucking commonplace if you're conservative, because there's no legitimate reason to be conservative anymore.
All right, I'm sorry for interrupting Holman here, but
Of serious crime, and they've been ordered removed by a federal judge. So it's like AOC and others don't want ICE to enforce the laws that they enacted. She's a member of Congress. Let us enforce the laws you enacted. That's what we're supposed to do.
You can't go after her. Do you think others should?
What the fuck kind of question is that?
If the DOJ can't go after her, who's going after her?
What the fuck? God.
What is this? Are we going to have Stalin start assassinating his generals again? Or what kind of authority is this?
Do you think somebody with so much less to lose should just take matters in their own hands and just get rid of her?
At 1 second they do not appreciate Mangione. On the next, they're asking for a vigilante justice.
Fuck.
No, I think I've asked DOJ, where's that line of impediment, of interference? Now, if someone stands in your way, prevents you from arresting somebody, put your hands on it, that's impediment. But what line is telling people to hide from ICE, not open the door? Where do you cross that line on impediment? So I've simply asked the Department of Justice, give us that line.
You have talked to them about this. That's what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Wow.
He's very mad. He's very mad that people are being informed of rights.
Yeah, I'm very old. I'm very disgruntled.
Yeah, I'm very grumpy about that.
Even though it's completely within the parameters of what is lawful and acceptable.
There's a follow up to that. I guess this is where it gets kind of more personal for him.
That's because he knows he's on a slippery slope and he has to
Jeez, you know. I won't go after her on
Tom, please do. Say what's on your mind. It's a holiday.
Look, she's the dumbest congresswoman ever elected to the Congress, and she proves that every day. And look, bottom line is, I can't believe any member of Congress, Republican, Democrat, Independent.
Let's compare
it's one thing to comment on somebody's intelligence when you can't even fucking exert a coherent sentence.
Well, yeah, a coherent sentence, and also imagine how stupid you have to be to say that it's illegal for somebody to remind people of their rights.
Yeah,
you have to be inheriting the stupid position to assert otherwise. So you're already trying to inherit a platform of inferiority there. But this is the other thing, is that when somebody has a deficiency when it comes to the substance, they will resort to smears against their character and their personhood.
He is totally not mad at her right now. Just totally not mad.
He never needed a trigger warning in his life.
Who are in the country illegally, been convicted of a violent crime, and have been ordered removed by an immigration judge after due process at great taxpayer expense. You got a congressman or congresswoman that does not want ICE to do the job that Congress has mandated them to do. And
honestly, I'm kind of...
Well, let's talk about taxpayer expense for a second. Why are we funding a genocide against the Palestinians again?
Well, yeah, I know.
Which comes at a higher cost for taxpayers, I wonder. Whatever he's talking about, like the detainment of illegal immigrants, or the hundreds of millions, billions of dollars that are being funneled into that kind of humanitarian crisis. Really, really wonderful guy.
Yeah. Well, that's our boy Holman. I got one more thing, if you want me to do it really fast, about Nancy Mace.
Yeah.
Really, really fast. This is kind of just for the laughs. This is for the lulls. But you know Nancy Mace, who I'm talking about, right? The woman.
No, actually, I don't know what that is.
So she is. She's a congresswoman from South Carolina, I believe, and
is this the beans woman?
Yeah. What, Kyle Kalinske?
Yeah, no,
that's
I know
a lot of
beans.
Okay,
yeah.
You nasty bitch. Yeah. So
yeah, epic tweet. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's see what she's doing.
So yeah, right after Trump got elected, she decided, because also during that election, the Delaware elected the first trans woman member of Congress, Sarah McBride. Now, her entry into Congress set something off in Nancy Mace's head, like a brick was thrown at her brain, because she could not stop. She was nonstop obsessing over trans people in bathrooms, and that became her new way of life. So
she got hit by a Zoomer soup can.
I guess. So a thing about her, and this kind of puts things in perspective, is that a lot of her staffers have described her approach to her office as a congresswoman as more focused on gaining media attention than actually backing any political policy for government. So
yeah.
All of her actions are just to make headlines on the internet, on TV. So she's always being mentioned, and so that helps maintain her relevancy. So when you know about that, you can understand why you see her crashing out constantly talking about trans people in the bathroom, obsessing over trans people, to the point where she's saying slurs on the House floor. So
yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, this is the first clip where, we have this guy who was the Democrat insider pick to lead the House Oversight Committee as opposed to AOC. We get this guy who, God bless him. I know he has a esophageal cancer and everything, but he just does not seem like he has the energy to stand up against these rabid attacks by Republicans like Nancy Mace. But I'll just kind of show, and you guys can be the judge on how this was handled. Can I get it over here? All right. So here's this.
Somebody's campaign coffers really are.
No! I gave the game away. That was the second clip. I didn't want to play that one yet. I'm sorry.
We know the Shyamalan ending before we saw the rest of the movie.
No, this is the one that I wanted. Sorry. Okay.
No, it's fine.
All right. Yeah. All right.
The gentlelady has used a phrase that is considered a slur in the LGBTQ community and the transgender community. And let me please finish without interruption. And
tranny. I don't really care. You want penises in women's bathrooms, and I'm not going to have it.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Let
It's disgusting.
let the gentleman state his parliamentary inquiry.
to me, a slur is a slur. And here in the committee, a level of decorum requires us to try consciously to avoid slurs. You just heard the gentlelady actually actively, robustly repeat it. And I would just ask the chairman that she be counseled that we ought not to be engaged. We can have debate and policy discussion without offending human beings who are our fellow citizens. And so I would ask, as a parliamentary inquiry, whether the use of that phrase is
Pause it
not,
for a second.
in fact,
yeah.
If they get to say tranny, we get to say Nazi. If they get to say tranny, we get to say fascist. That's just only fair.
Well,
because like any amount of applicability or inapplicability is irrelevant at that point. They're just like, because like transgender people, it's not the same as saying fucking tranny. So
I mean,
like,
she's saying it, and meanwhile he's just like, that's not very nice. Can we be nice to everybody here? You know?
I get it, but it's like okay, you want to set that standard, like in these hearings or whatever. Okay, fine, say tranny, and we're going to remind everybody, and this is more factually substantiated, that you guys are the fascist party, and we're not going to hold back on our language either. And I know he's trying to like set the tone and be like a little bit more like
well, don't get too far ahead there on that one. So
okay, let's see what happens.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to be counseled by a man over men in women's spaces or men who have mental health issues dressing as women. I'm not being counseled by some guy.
My inquiry is to the
Right.
chairman,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
Order. The inquiry is about decorum. Decorum is at the discretion of the chair.
That's
I will be
mansplaining,
honest,
Mr. Chairman.
with the ranking member. I'm not up to date on my politically correct LGBTQ terminology. We'll look into that.
yeah, you were never up to date to it. So her response is fuck you about your demeanor and niceties. I'm gonna say what I need to say. So, which I thought was very ironic because just prior to that, we had another Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, basically call out Nancy Mace on her bullshit. Now, if you are from the South, I want to preface this. If you're from the South, there is a term called child. Not child, but child. Okay? I don't think Nancy Mace understood that and just watched the crash out as a result.
Somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, trans, trans so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all
I
to
am
tell
no
me
child.
whether or
Do
not
not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have
glass ceilings than you.
Chairman,
ever
I
will
am
in my
reclaiming my
life.
time.
You will not do that. I am
Order.
not a
Chairman,
child.
I am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr. Chairman, the committee is not in order.
Order.
Point of order. Point of order.
Order.
Somebody's campaign.
Another free speech bastion of free speech who needs a trigger warning more
What
than
happened to
anybody
the
else.
marketplace of
But
ideas?
these are exactly. These are the same people who believe that the greatest offense committed to them during the Biden administration was Mr. Potato Head losing his pronouns.
Yeah,
that's how easily triggered these people are.
I think the thing that just pisses me off.
That's a very good point of hypocrisy.
The thing that just pisses me off about this woman is like, it is just a blatant grift on her part.
Yeah,
and you know, meanwhile, here, let me just pull this up because, like, for her, this is just about scoring political points, but for Sarah McBride, again, first trans person in Congress, this is the type of shit that, she has to fucking deal with. Here, let me share it really fast here. So, I mean, you cannot say that this was an accident or a mistake.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Delaware, Mr. McBride, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When I was elected,
Yeah, come on. This is a level of pettiness that just, like, you just have to own the fact that, like, trans people exist and, like, they inhabit, every facet of society. Like, they're not just on the fringes. They will be your coworkers. They will be your representatives. They will be with you throughout, even if you just walk around your community. Like, you just have to own that. And, like, no amount of slurs or degradation is going to force people, back into the closet or into obscurity. So, yeah. Anyway. Well,
deeply disappointed. But they can't live up to their own standards of, like, being able to dish it out and receive it, basically. So
yeah,
they're just as, like, emotionally sensitive as anybody else is. Apparently,
the House literally had to pass rules for people. So, like, Sarah McBride cannot use the women's bathroom on the House floor at all. That's how fucking petty and obsessive they are over this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not good. So, and I know Sarah McBride does not always have the best politics, but that's not the point I'm trying to make here. Like, she's still a person, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, well, that's all I had. So,
so the one thing that I had is the Social Security narrative has become predominant.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty brief. It's just a few paragraphs, but this is kind of like the standard of misinformation that we're being beleaguered by on social media. This is it's a very disappointing, it's a very disheartening example of how susceptible people are to narratives that are really easily disprovable. And this is something that somebody posted who is avoided and evaded a chance at debate, with me personally. But the narratives that Elon Musk and Doge have discovered that there are 394 million Social Security recipients in the United States. Despite the country having only 334 million citizens, a discrepancy of more than 60 million people. And the claim with using the math that he is basing his suppositions on is that one third of all Social Security spending is fraud, based on the numbers that he's accumulated and integrated into his personal calculus. So basically what this comes down to, though, is that Musk claims to have found people who are 150 years old or older in our Social Security system. And the belief is that these people are still receiving payments from the Social Security Administration, and Trump has endorsed and repeated these claims.
I heard that, yeah.
Apparently, he's still delicensing and investigating fact checkers, people who are fact checking him about this, because he's embraced these statements wholeheartedly. Social Security policy experts and economists told ABC News that Musk and Trump are getting it wrong. Who could have predicted that? Contending that Musk is misreading the agency's records system.
Didn't the Doge team kind of literally misinterpret the numbers, where it was the dollar amount was in millions, but they thought it was said billions? They're like, oh my God, look what we found.
What are we speaking about?
I think it had to do with Social Security, but I could be wrong. That's just...
Was it Social Security? Yeah, I didn't find anything about that specifically.
Okay, it must have been something.
But I know that Musk recently confused places named Gaza.
Oh.
And he believed that we were sending $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza, and he thought it was Palestine Gaza. It was actually South African Gaza or someplace in Africa. So. Mm-hmm. But he's been getting a lot of things wrong in a very short time span, which is unsurprising for somebody who's anti-intellectual and anti-factual as he is. But the Social Security Administration has multiple databases, including one that gets sent to the Treasury Department each month, outlining the payments that recipients receive from Social Security. And according to agency statistics, of the 67 million people who receive Social Security benefits, and that's a very different number than the 394 million people Musk was claiming.
Yeah.
Of the 67 million actual recipients who receive Social Security benefits, only 0.1% are over the age of 100. And so when they're throwing around numbers like tens of millions of dead people are getting Social Security, there's only 67 million total recipients. So where are these other people coming from? And if what Trump was asserting was true, then half of the people who receive Social Security, a whopping 50% of people who receive Social Security, would be dead. So Musk's claims in contention with reality is that half of people who receive Social Security payments are not alive.
Also,
what Musk is saying is,
keep in mind, married people, especially if there's a massive age difference, if one of the spouses dies, the survivor gets, their Social Security benefits, depending on the age that they died. So
yeah,
I've never heard that factored into the data that they find. The person may be dead, yes, but their Social Security is probably going to the next of kin. Right. Not, I don't know. I don't know if it'd be called next of kin, but it would be essentially the surviving spouse.
Right. Yeah. And they have an explanation for that. It's kind of a funny and simple explanation. But so SSA does make some improper payments, but those improper payments are not widespread, and it's at around roughly 1%. So if what Elon Musk was saying, that if his numbers were true, then the percentage would be about a 50% amount for improper payments. But when you actually look at the actual fiscal data, then the improper payments come out to around roughly 1%. And most of those mistakes are made due to overpayments to living beneficiaries.
Yeah.
So the people who are still alive who receive benefits are getting overpaid a little bit. I'm sure they're not complaining. And that's according to a July 2024 Inspector General's report. The report found from 2015 through 2022, the Social Security Administration made $71.8 million in improper payments, but that's comprised, or that's a fraction of the $1 trillion in benefits that are administered every year. Other database experts said Let's see. There are people in the system, they said, who have died, but don't have a date of death recorded because they lived long before electronic records were established. And these data experts say that that's probably where Elon Musk's discrepancy is emerging from, is that there are some people who are included in the database who don't have a date of death recorded because they were basically included in that database before these things were electronically recorded. And apparently that sufficiently accounts for Elon Musk's discrepancy. Justin Wolfer is a professor of public policy and economics at the University of Michigan, said it is transparently obvious that Elon Musk had misinterpreted or is misrepresenting the data, but also noticed that Musk is conspicuously not showing his work for how he arrived at these conclusions, and that Musk has not explicitly said where he's getting the data from.
Interesting.
Which adds a little bit of a layer of intrigue to like what his motives are.
Yeah.
What he's trying to do is he's trying to cast doubt on Social Security.
Oh no, this is all
without
just
being able to explain why.
This is all just an elaborate sort of planned campaign narrative to get public opinion against Social Security. So the Trump administration it's teeing up for the Trump administration to, quote unquote, reform it, which is just basically gut it. Yeah, this is like the obsession that people have with like the Twitter files and that being pushed about, and like how we just blatant lies, people believing that, and then like that those people's political narratives being constructed by those lies. Like this is happening right now with Doge's findings, and it's all just to construct a narrative. That's it. I know Trump is saying right now that like he won't touch Social Security, but I guarantee you're going to probably see that opinion change.
It was like he said he wouldn't touch Social Security, but he'd been saying that the whole time. But that was apparently one of the provisions in some legislation he was supporting back in like his first term.
Yeah.
So he's already proven that he will say that he won't touch Social Security, but he will also support legislation that seeks to undermine Social Security and its financing. But I guess that's what you get when you trust somebody who is capable of such fraudulent enterprises as Trump University and the like.
Exactly.
Or somebody who's committed so much business fraud that he can't even like do business in New York anymore.
Yeah, no.
Like, you're really going to trust what this guy says about fucking Social Security.
Yeah.
That was my contribution for the day. So
yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it's we gotta these narratives that are so easily challenged should be challenged. But the really sad thing is that this is about the level of credibility that that exists within like every conservative narrative that's being supported in advance right now. It's like you do 5 minutes of research and these narratives do not withstand scrutiny, even for a moment. And it's really sad.
Yeah, don't believe it at face value. Just like a simple Google search will like dispel pretty much the majority of this.
Right.
But they're expecting people not to do that. They're just expecting people just to run with it. Because apparently Elon Musk is such a trustworthy person, apparently, so. This is such bullshit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, what else
He's
can you say
resoundingly
to that? It's just such bullshit.
It's one of those things where you almost can't conceptualize how people keep falling for it over and over again. It almost makes you feel a little bit misanthropic about the human race. But,
I feel there.
But not literally, because I don't think I'm ever going to get to that level of cynicism or disenchantment.
No, we don't have time for cynicism right now. We gotta. It's hope and action. So
it's got to be action for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But that's what I got for today. I don't know if you got other stuff.
No, that's it. That's all I got. Well, I think next time I like your meme idea, going over what right-wing memes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was basically my submission for this. Last time was the Canada one.
Yeah.
Where the claim was that we're subsidizing Canada with $200 million every year. It's like, God damn.
But yeah, next time we'll do that. I'll have some stuff later on in the week. Maybe if you're free Sunday, we can do something then.
I'll have to see about Sunday. We'll talk about it.
Okay, yeah, but I'll have more stuff. Even then, if we have to wait till next week, so
why not? I mean, we'll do a James Carville. We'll neoliberally triangulate. And figure out what. I think Sunday would probably be fine. I think I have a shorter work day on Sunday.
Okay, yeah, that's all good.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that ends it for us here, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Dave, thanks for doing this with me again. Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. Always happy to support it.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, you guys take it easy, okay? Be safe out there. And love y'all.